I ran into Samantha Turner at the grocery store today, and she mentioned that Ethan was back in town. He's taking over the family business while his brother Alex recovers from an accident. Helen Johnson apparently told her daughter, Emily, about it. Ethan? Emily muttered, shoving a can of peas into the pantry. Yes, Ethan, your husband. Or ex-husband. Honestly, is he still your husband? Mom, I don't want to talk about Ethan, Emily sighed, her frustration evident. I don't even know if we're still married. I never got any divorce papers. You never filed for divorce, did you? Helen pressed, as if daring Emily to face the truth. No, I didn't, Emily admitted quietly, looking at the floor. He left, and I thought he'd take care of it. Helen shook her head in disbelief. 6 years, Emily. He's been gone for 6 years. No calls, no emails, no letters. You can't still love him, do you? Emily didn't respond, her silence saying more than words. Helen's patience snapped. You're not actually okay with this, are you? He abandoned you. If he's back, divorce him. When you married him, he was responsible, hardworking. But then he left. You deserve better. Emily sighed deeply. Mom, I'm 27. I've got my own house and a good job. I'm not a burden to you and Dad, so stop trying to control my life. I just want you to be happy. You haven't been happy since Ethan left. He clearly didn't love you, or he wouldn't have disappeared. He must have had another woman. No, Emily said immediately, defending Ethan. He wouldn't cheat. Her voice wavered, and Helen could see the doubt creeping in. Helen shook her head, stunned that Emily still defended the man who had disappeared. Something was missing, and Helen knew Emily wasn't telling her everything. That night, Emily barely slept. Ethan's face was inescapable, his memory haunting her. He had been the most handsome man she'd ever known. Funny, calm, and devoted. That is, until she ruined everything. Now that he was back in Stone Ridge, she knew they'd eventually cross paths. But what could she even say? An apology felt hollow. Their relationship was too broken to fix. 2 days later, Emily visited her mom again. Her younger sister, Chloe, who was working a summer job while attending Ohio State, had just gotten home. I saw Ethan at the media office today, Chloe said casually as she walked in. Emily's heart sank, but Helen was quick to react. How did he look? She asked, almost too eagerly. Chloe grinned. If you were hoping he'd let himself go, you'd be disappointed. He's still the most handsome guy around. Helen raised her eyebrows. He hasn't gained weight? Gone bald? Nope, Chloe replied. He looked a little rough, t-shirt, jeans, but still good-looking. He was talking with Tina. I don't think he noticed me. Emily, quiet until now, asked softly, Did he say anything about me? Chloe shook her head. No, he just placed his ad and left. Oh, and he had his daughter with him. Helen's eyes widened. His daughter? Yeah, Chloe said nonchalantly, as if it wasn't a bombshell. Apparently, that's why he left. He got some other woman pregnant. Helen let out a low whistle. Well, good riddance then. Chloe nodded. Still, there's no shortage of women in town who'd line up for him now. He's got that whole mysterious vibe. Then she added, his daughter's beautiful, by the way. Looks about 12 or 13. Emily stiffened. But Ethan's only 28. How could he have a daughter that old? Chloe grinned, enjoying the mystery. Exactly. Her name's Ava. She's blonde, athletic, stunning. Helen, always quick to connect dots, said, So you'd technically be her stepmother, wouldn't you, Emily? That hit Emily like a punch in the gut. She mumbled something about needing the bathroom and quickly left the room. Chloe and Helen exchanged glances, the tension heavy between them. Chloe couldn't shake the feeling there was more to this story. In a small town like Stone Ridge, secrets never stayed hidden for long. Meanwhile, Ethan and Ava were leaving the media office when Ava asked, Who was that woman staring at you? That was my ex-wife's sister, Ethan replied, amused by the awkwardness of it all. She probably didn't expect to see me. Ava frowned. Was Emily as pretty as her sister? Yes, Ethan said softly. Emily was beautiful. Ava was puzzled. Then why did she cheat on you? Ethan's face darkened. That's for Emily to explain, if she ever wants to. No one else needs to know. Ava admired Ethan's calmness. You're a lot more forgiving than most people. I don't think I'd be that calm if someone hurt me like that. Ethan smiled sadly. Life's too short for grudges. Besides, if things hadn't gone this way, I wouldn't have you. Ava smiled, feeling lucky to have Ethan as a father figure. After her biological father, Daniel, passed away, Ethan had stepped in to fill that role. Even though she still remembered Daniel fondly, she had learned to love Ethan like her own dad. Ethan thought back to Daniel's final request that Ava call him Dad when she was ready. She had, and Ethan cherished it. It was one of the many ways Daniel had prepared for Ava's future, ensuring that Ethan would step into the role as her father. Ava expressed her love for Ethan, but her worry about finding a new mother while he was still legally married was weighing on her. Ethan reassured her that they'd focus on settling in first, and that any future partner would need to fully accept Ava. In a heartfelt moment, Ava hugged Ethan tightly, and he reaffirmed his love, telling her she and her future children would always be his family. Later, Ethan explained to his mother, Margaret, that certain topics were off-limits once they moved in. He was willing to help with the family construction business, but he wouldn't tolerate interference in his personal life. Surprisingly, Margaret agreed. While washing dishes, Ethan overheard Ava talking to Margaret. Grandma, we saw Emily's sister, Chloe. She's really pretty. Do you think Emily is as pretty as her? Ethan strained to hear the response, as he had made it clear Emily and her family were off-limits in conversation. Margaret, lowering her voice, said, Emily's beautiful. She was pretty when she married Ethan, but now she's confident and capable. If it were up to me, they'd still be together, and you'd have siblings. But it's not my choice. Margaret quickly changed the subject before Ethan could hear more. As Ethan sat at the kitchen table, Ava chimed in. Dad drove me by the new school. Their soccer field looks amazing. I'm trying out for the team next Tuesday. I didn't know you played soccer, Margaret said, though her enthusiasm seemed a bit forced. It's my favorite sport. I was one of the best players on my travel team in Thompson, Ava boasted. Ethan chuckled. She's being modest. She was excellent. Margaret praised Ava but hid a knowing smile, wondering if Ethan would react when he discovered who the soccer coach was. She suspected Ethan's ban on discussing Emily might backfire. At soccer practice, Emily noticed a tall, blonde girl with impressive skills. Approaching her, Emily introduced herself. Hi, I'm the team coach, Coach Rogers. The girl's jaw dropped. Hello, ma'am. I'm Ava Rogers. My dad was your husband, years ago. If you think I won't be treated fairly, I'll understand and switch to another sport. I don't want to put you in an awkward spot. Emily was startled, realizing this girl was Ethan's daughter. With a deep breath, she reassured Ava. You'll be treated fairly, based on your effort and behavior, just like everyone else. Ava grinned. Grandma knew you were my coach, but didn't say anything because of Dad's rules. I can't wait to tell him you're my coach. Your father isn't here, is he? Emily asked quickly. No, he's working today, Ava replied. But he's been helping Uncle Alex a lot since the accident. He was right about you, though. Emily's heart tightened. What do you mean? What did he say about me? Ava whispered, Daddy says you're the prettiest cheating strumpet he's ever seen. Emily gasped, her knees giving way as she collapsed, tears flowing uncontrollably. Ava had expected anger or embarrassment, but Emily's raw pain left her stunned. The other girls watched in silence, unsure of what had just happened. Ava, suddenly rethinking her long-held anger toward Emily, stepped aside, watching the assistant coach approach. What did you say to Coach Rogers? The assistant asked, her tone firm. What's your name? I'm Ava Rogers. I'm sorry if I caused a problem. Ava apologized, realizing she'd hit a nerve. Rogers? Are you related to Ethan Rogers? The assistant asked sharply. He's my father, Ava replied hesitantly. The assistant coach sighed. Maybe you should leave. Coach Rogers doesn't need any reminders of her ex. Ava nodded and turned to leave, but a hand stopped her. She turned to find herself wrapped in Emily's arms, her coach sobbing. I'm so sorry. So sorry, Emily repeated, holding Ava tightly. Ava stood frozen as Emily's sobs quieted. The other girls continued watching, their eyes wide in shock. Emily regained her composure and said softly, "Your father's a good man. Please, stay on the team. If you're anything like Ethan, you'll be a great addition. I won't let this happen again, I promise." Ava followed Emily back to the bench, still processing what had just happened. Emily addressed the team, her voice steady but emotional. "I want you all to understand something. This is Ava Rogers, my ex-husband's daughter. Her showing up today shook me. I haven't seen her father in 6 years, and it's been overwhelming. But please, treat her kindly. None of this is her fault." Turning directly to Ava, Emily asked softly, "Is your mom around? I'd love to meet her and tell her what a wonderful daughter she raised." Ava looked down. "Mom died when I was 3. It's been just me and Dad ever since." Emily's eyes filled with empathy. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Ava shrugged, guilt tugging at her. "I shouldn't have been rude earlier. My dad's been punishing me lately for acting like a brat. I'm sorry too, Coach Rogers." Emily offered a sad smile, wiping away her lingering tears. "Let's start fresh, Ava. We all deserve a second chance." Emily's mind spun. Ava's mom had died when she was 3, about 10 years ago. Ethan would have still been in high school. That mystery could wait. "We started off on the wrong foot," Emily said. "Let's start fresh. I'm Coach Rogers, and you're Ava. Let's go over the team rules and expectations, and then we'll start practice." After practice, Ava climbed into her grandmother's SUV. "How was practice, honey?" Margaret asked. "It went well," Ava replied. "The girls are nice, and some are really good players. I think we'll have a solid team." "And the coach?" "I heard she's nice," Margaret asked, trying to sound casual. "Why don't you just ask what you really want to know, Grandma?" Ava smiled knowingly. Margaret gave a small chuckle. "All right, how did it go with Emily? Was she surprised when she found out who you were?" "She was, but she handled it well. She's kinder than I thought. She's still upset about Dad after all these years. He never told anyone why he left her, and I don't know how much you know, but they seemed happy before he left. Then, one night, he just drove away." Margaret nodded solemnly. "I don't think they ever spoke again. I heard she never really knew why he left." "She knows exactly why he left," Ava snapped. "She drove him away." "Okay, I think Ethan's already talked to you about this," Margaret said cautiously. "Only your dad or Emily can explain it." When Ethan got home, he asked Ava about practice over dinner. "It didn't start smoothly," Ava admitted. "Coach was upset when I told her my name, but we worked it out." Ethan noticed his mother wince, sensing more to the story. "Do you think you'll get a fair shot with Emily as your coach?" "Emily Rogers is my coach, Dad," Ava replied, her voice steady. Ethan was speechless, realizing he had made a mistake by not keeping up with Emily's life. Margaret smiled to herself, knowing exactly what Ethan had just pieced together. "Mom," Ethan asked, "can you tell Ava and me more about Emily? We'll have to talk to her regularly now." Margaret leaned in. "She's a math teacher at Stone Ridge High and has coached soccer for 3 years. Her team only lost 2 games last year. As for her relationship status, she's either single or technically still married to you, depending on which rumor you believe. Most people think you left her because you had a girlfriend. That's not true." Ava protested, her face reddening. "What did I tell you about that kind of talk?" Ethan cut in, his voice stern. "You need to act respectfully around Emily. Don't say or do anything I'd have to apologize for." Ava looked down at her plate. "I may have called her a name," she admitted quietly, "but I apologized, and we're okay now. She treated me like all the other girls after that." Ethan leaned in, concerned. "What exactly did you say?" Ava whispered in his ear, and Ethan's face darkened. "Ava," he said through gritted teeth, "I told you that in confidence. You shouldn't have repeated it." "I'm sorry. I regretted it as soon as I said it. I didn't expect it to hurt her that much," Ava admitted. "She told the whole team you're her ex-husband. Maybe we can find you a new wife now?" Meanwhile, Emily was at home, trying to hold herself together. After a long day, she collapsed into her favorite chair and cried for hours. School was still 2 weeks away, but fall sports had already started. She'd have to face Ethan, but how could she? She rushed out to her SUV, barely holding it together, and almost collided with Ethan in the driveway. "Hi, Emily. Can we talk?" "I need to apologize," Ethan said, looking sincere. Emily paused. The idea of Ethan apologizing to her seemed absurd. "I guess," she replied cautiously. "Ava told me what she said to you yesterday," Ethan began. "It was wrong. I tried to raise her better. I shouldn't have told her why we broke up. Only she and my cousin Daniel know. She's young and wanted to hurt you." Emily couldn't help but notice how good Ethan looked. T-shirt, jeans, muscles defined, hair longer but suiting him perfectly. She wiped away tears before responding. "She didn't say anything untrue, Ethan. Unless you want to argue about me being beautiful, she was spot on." Ethan looked pained. "I don't want you to suffer because of what happened 6 years ago. It's over. We've both moved on. It's time to let the past go." "Over and done with," Emily said bitterly. "Sure, we'll just act like we were never in love, never married, like I didn't enjoy every moment of being with you. That should work." Tears flowed down her face again. Ethan wanted to hold her, comfort her, but he stopped himself, not wanting to send mixed signals. He stood awkwardly, watching her break down. Emily finally composed herself. "I'm sorry, Ethan, for everything. I was stupid to cheat with that guy and let everyone think you left for no reason. I was selfish, hoping you'd come back and forgive me. I never told anyone the truth, but I'm going to now. You don't deserve the nasty rumors or the town's judgment. You left because of me, not because of some affair." Ethan stood silently, his face tight with emotion. "I know you'll never forgive me for what I did," Emily continued, her voice trembling. Ethan looked at her, his expression softening. "It's not about forgiveness, Emily. It's about moving forward. We can't change what happened, but we don't have to let it define us forever." "I wouldn't forgive myself either," Emily said softly. "Emily, I'm fine. I didn't feel bitter when I left. People thought I was crazy for walking away from such a beautiful woman, but they questioned my sanity, not my character," Ethan replied. "You've always been a gentleman," Emily said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your daughter is wonderful. Please don't be too hard on her. I think she's going to be the star player on the team." Ethan smiled. "It was good to see you too. I'm sure Ava will do well on your team, and I hope we can avoid any drama. You've grown even more beautiful since we got married." "Thank you," Emily replied, blushing, "and you look more chiseled than ever." As Ethan walked away toward his truck, a group of girls nearby watched in awe. "Was that Ava, Dad?" a red-haired girl asked, wide-eyed. "He's handsome. My dad's bald and has a big belly," she added, giggling. "Why did Coach Rogers dump him?" another girl wondered aloud. Over dinner later that night with her parents, Emily's father asked, "How's the team looking this year? Do you think they'll do as well as last season?" "I think we'll be better than ever," Emily replied, cautiously considering what to say about Ava and Ethan. "Your best player's back, right?" Chloe chimed in. "She has one more year before high school?" "We've got a new star this season," Emily said with a smile. "You actually saw her the other day, Ava, Ethan's daughter." Chloe chuckled, surprised. "She plays on your team? That's wild. Tell us more about her." "She's athletic, smart, and a really nice kid. I think she'll fit in well," Emily explained. "And how did she react when she found out who you were?" Chloe asked, intrigued. "She was just as surprised as I was," Emily admitted. "When I introduced myself as Coach Rogers, she knew I had been married to her dad. I think we'll get along fine." "Have you seen Ethan?" Margaret asked. "Did he say anything to you?" "We talked today before practice," Emily replied. "It wasn't as awkward as I feared. He apologized, and we had a mature conversation. No accusations, just an honest talk. He was a gentleman, really. And what else?" Margaret pressed. "After all these years, does he have any explanation for why he left?" Emily sighed. "No, Mom. He didn't owe me one. He even said I was more beautiful than when we got married." "Well, you're not married to him anymore," Margaret said firmly. "You deserve to find someone who treats you right." "I know," Emily said, tears welling up. "But I had it all once, Mom. I didn't deserve him. I couldn't keep him. He's the one who got away." "That's nonsense," her father muttered. "I should go find him, and give him a piece of my mind. I wouldn't try that, Dad, Emily replied with a weak smile. He's stronger and more confident now. Confronting him won't help. Did he seem conflicted? Chloe asked. That's an understatement, Emily whispered, trying to compose herself. I appreciate you wanting to protect me, Dad, but don't confront him. Ethan's changed. He's more mature now. And you're still in love with him, Chloe said quietly, observing her sister. Look at you, Emily. It's obvious. I'm just a fool, Emily sobbed. I ruined the best thing I ever had. I deserve to be laughed at. Sis, you're not stupid, Chloe said, hugging her. If you still love him, then I'm on your side. I just want to see you happy. It's over, Emily said, her voice breaking. He divorced me. There's no chance of us being together. Please help me accept that. The next morning, Chloe decided to talk to Ethan. She found him at the construction site, giving orders to his crew. The men fell silent as she approached. What can I do for you, Chloe? Ethan asked, his tone professional. I want to take you to lunch at Ellie's. Meet me there at noon? Chloe asked with a smile. Ethan hesitated, then agreed, not wanting to refuse in front of his men. He had always liked Chloe and didn't mind catching up. At noon, Chloe was already seated when Ethan arrived. She stood and hugged him. Thanks for coming, Ethan. You look great. Ethan smiled. You've become a beautiful woman yourself, Chloe. It's good for my ego to be seen with you. You've always been a gentleman, Chloe replied. Let's order and catch up. I have so many questions. First off, she grinned. How did you get so fit? Once they ordered, Ethan began to open up. When I left Stone Ridge, I went to stay with my cousin Daniel. We've been chatting online for a while, and he was always a good guy. His wife, Anna, had passed a few years before, and Ava was just 7 when I first met her. Daniel got sick about 18 months ago. Before he died, we became close, and he asked me to adopt Ava. We finalized everything just before he passed. Oh, Ethan, that must have been so hard, Chloe said softly. Ava is a wonderful girl, and I can't believe you managed to adopt her on your own. That's not easy for a single man. Ethan sighed. I didn't know Emily had divorced me, so I listed myself as married on the paperwork. But Ava is my life now. I can't imagine not having her. She's always talking about helping me find a wife. Chloe knew something important now. Emily had thought Ethan divorced her, while Ethan believed she had divorced him. She stored this information for later. Ethan, Chloe said, her tone shifting, I wanted to talk to you about Emily. You know how beautiful she is, right? She graduated and got her teaching degree 2 years ago. She bought a small ranch, and the kids at school absolutely adore her. She hasn't dated anyone since you left, Chloe told Ethan. Is there any chance you two could get back together? You were the perfect couple. Ethan shook his head. I'm sorry, Chloe, but that's not going to happen. We've both changed and gone in different directions. There's nothing left between us. But you've both changed for the better, Chloe argued. I know she still loves you, Ethan. She's never blamed you. She just said you had a disagreement, and you left. She kept waiting for you to come back. Ethan gave a faint smirk. It took me 6 years, but I'm back. Chloe raised an eyebrow. And what have you been doing in all that time? You've clearly been working out. Daniel bought a warehouse during the recession and turned it into a gym and dojo. I became a yoga instructor, a personal trainer, and I teach martial arts to teens on weekends. It helped me get in shape, Ethan explained. And yes, I finished my degree and got a teaching certificate. It added credibility when we started teaching yoga and martial arts. Chloe hugged him before they said their goodbyes. I'm sorry you're not getting back with Emily, but I hope we can stay friends. I'd love that, Ethan replied with a smile. Say hello to your folks for me. I'd avoid them if I were you, Chloe warned. They're not thrilled about how things went with Emily. Ethan chuckled. I don't blame them. I'd be shocked if they still liked me. The next morning, Emily felt a bit lighter. She had made peace with herself and Ethan. She still regretted cheating on him, and a part of her wished Ethan still loved her, but it was time to move on. At practice, she noticed Ava leading the girls in stretching, her movements graceful and controlled. How can you bend like that? One of the girls asked, struggling to keep her balance. It's like you're defying gravity. My dad taught me yoga and martial arts. I can do it, but I don't know how to teach it, Ava admitted with a grin. Your dad does yoga? Another girl asked incredulously. I thought men couldn't bend like that, especially guys with muscles like your dad. They can if they practice. Most men prefer martial arts, though, Ava explained. Dad's physique comes from yoga, too. Maybe he could teach us, a girl suggested, her eyes lighting up. Ava hesitated. I don't know if he has the time. Plus, he's very careful about teaching girls. There's always another adult present during his sessions. If your dad's willing, I'll stay and chaperone, Emily interjected. It could give us an edge against our opponents if we improve our flexibility. When Ethan arrived to pick Ava up after practice, he was met with smiles and waves from the girls, Emily, and a few mothers. Ava immediately asked, Dad, the girls want to learn the stretching routine. I told them you might be able to teach us for half an hour after practice. Ethan's face softened as he listened, clearly proud of Ava. I guess I can, but I'll need at least one adult present, he said, looking at Emily. Ava already promised a chaperone. Is it okay if I stay and join the sessions? Some of the moms want to join too, Emily asked. A slightly overweight red-haired woman chimed in. I could use the exercise myself? Ethan smiled. All right, we'll start tomorrow. But don't be upset if the kids progress faster than the adults, he warned with a wink. Ethan's yoga sessions often ran longer than an hour as the girls worked hard to match Ava's fluid movements. Several single moms attended regularly, clearly interested in more than just stretching. Ethan enjoyed the sessions, getting to know the girls and many of their families. Emily, though, was different. She dressed more conservatively than the other moms, yet she still looked amazing. Strong, toned, and graceful. She often kept up with or even surpassed the girls in mastering the yoga positions. She was professional but warm, and Ethan couldn't help but notice how much she had changed since they were together. Before the third game of the season, Ava led the team in pre-match stretches while playing music on a Bluetooth speaker. The sight of the team moving in perfect synchrony caught the attention of players and fans from the opposing school, leaving them visibly impressed. The focus and preparation paid off with a solid victory. After the game, Ava approached Emily with a spark in her eyes. Coach, have you thought about entering Harper's soccer tournament? Our team fits perfectly in the 12 to 14 age group. I think we could do really well. Emily hesitated. I've heard of the tournament, but the competition is tough, and the entry fee is $500. The school board won't approve that. Ava grinned, her determination evident. What if we played independently of the school? We could get a local business to sponsor us. Emily saw the fire in Ava's eyes and in the faces of the other girls. They were eager to compete, and it was clear they wanted her as their coach. You realize the competition will be fierce, right? Every game will be against all-star teams. Ava didn't back down. I played in the tournament last year. We won 2 games and only lost the third by 1 goal to the team that won the whole thing. I know our team can compete. We just need a good coach. You already have a sponsor? Emily asked, impressed by Ava's organization. Yes, Ava nodded. Local businesses have agreed to cover the entry fee and the motel rooms. The tournament is over Columbus Day weekend, so we'd stay for 3 nights. Emily admired Ava's planning and enthusiasm. All right, she said with a smile. Let's do it. Emily felt proud of the team's enthusiasm and decided to support them fully. Let's do it, she agreed. There's no better way to improve than to play against the best. Tell me what needs to be done. Thank you, coach, the girls cheered. Ava handed Emily a paper. Here's the website and your login. You need to register us by midnight. The entry fee's already paid. Emily chuckled. You've got everything under control. What's the team name? We're the Ridge Runners. We'll even have custom t-shirts with our names. Is Ethan sponsoring the team? Emily asked Ava quietly. Ava smiled. Our sponsor prefers to stay anonymous, but they insisted you coach us, or the deal's off. They believe you're an excellent coach and role model. Emily laughed. So, Ethan will keep his distance then? Don't underestimate Dad, Ava warned. He's keeping an eye on everything. He wants the best for the team. 2 weeks later, Ava led the team in warm-ups before their first tournament game. A large crowd from Stone Ridge had come to support them, including Ethan, who watched proudly as Ava kept the team upbeat and focused. The other team watched the Ridge Runners' stretching routine in awe, clearly impressed. The game started rough, with the opposing team scoring 2 quick goals. Emily grew concerned. Her team hadn't lost a game all season. But when an opposing player was injured, Emily seized the moment and pulled Ava aside. "Do you see that girl?" Emily asked, pointing. "We need to stop her from scoring. She's running the whole field." Ava nodded, taking in the advice. Once the Ridge Runners refocused on defense, they stopped the other team's star from taking quality shots. By halftime, they were only down by 2. "Girls, they've been focused on Ava all half. We need the rest of you to step up. When Ava moves to one side, pass to the other. Let's test their goalie," Emily said during the halftime huddle. The team came out stronger in the second half, attacking more aggressively. They tied the game with 2 goals from rebounds. With just under a minute left, Ava scored, giving them the lead. The Ridge Runners held on and won, advancing to the next round. The girls were ecstatic, hugging each other, Emily and their supporters. Emily spotted Ethan hugging Ava, but her eyes lingered as one of the team moms kissed him on the cheek. She felt a slight pang of jealousy but brushed it off, knowing she had no right to feel that way anymore. As she turned to leave, Ethan suddenly wrapped his arms around her, lifting her effortlessly. She hadn't felt this close to him in almost 7 years. "Great coaching, Emily. Ava told me you did an amazing job. Thanks for treating the girls so well," Ethan said, smiling. Emily blushed, feeling flustered. "Thank you for sponsoring us. Some of the girls couldn't afford this trip without it. It was really generous." "I'd do anything to make Ava happy," Ethan admitted. "She wanted the other girls to have this experience, and she thinks you're a great coach." "Dad," Ava called out, teasing. "If you keep hugging Coach like that, I'm going to have to start calling her Coach Mom." Ethan gently set Emily down, laughing. "Sorry, Emily, I got carried away." "I don't think she minded," Ava quipped, noticing Emily's reddened cheeks. The whole team stayed to watch the next match to size up their future opponents. The following morning, Ava led the team to a 5-3 victory, scoring 3 goals and advancing the Ridge Runners to the semifinals. Their next game would be against a travel team Ava had played with before. Before the match, Ava chatted with her former teammates. It was clear she still had good relations with them, and Ethan was equally popular with their supporters, particularly the moms, who hugged him and wished him well. During the game, Emily saw a different side of Ethan. When a local high school girl refereeing the game made a mistake, a large man stormed onto the field, shouting threats and obscenities. Emily started toward him, but Ethan reached the referee first, pulling her into a protective hug as she sobbed. From the bleachers, a woman called out, "Ethan Rogers is about to kick that guy's back." The man turned toward Ethan, suddenly unsure. "I got carried away," he muttered. "I didn't mean anything by it." "Apologize to Nina and then leave," Ethan growled, his voice steady as he patted the girl's back. "These kids are doing a great job, and they deserve our respect, not bullying." The man hesitated, but another voice from the crowd added, "You better take Ethan's offer, or he'll punch you like a rented mule." Emily spotted the woman, short, blonde, in her 40s, who had been watching the scene unfold. She realized the woman had also been offering a drink to Nina, the girl clinging to Ethan. The man's bravado deflated. "I apologize, miss. I overreacted. You girls are doing great." With that, he left, and Nina, still in Ethan's arms, gradually calmed down. Ethan handed her a napkin to wipe her eyes. Nina smiled through her tears, standing on tiptoe to kiss Ethan on the cheek. "Thank you, Ethan. I knew you'd stop him." Her mother, standing nearby, called out with a grin, "Told you he'd have your back, Nina." Nina returned to the field as the crowd clapped and cheered, her confidence restored. The officials huddled, discussing how much time was left and who had possession when play would resume. Meanwhile, Nina's mom explained to the other fans, "Nina went to Ethan's dojo last year. She thinks Ethan hung the moon, and I can't argue with that. No one disrespects women when Ethan's around." "Tom Alexerson is a big guy, known for getting into fights," said one of the Ridge Runner moms. "I was afraid he'd hurt Ethan." Nina's mom shook her head. "Ethan Rogers? Have you seen him compete? He would have kicked Tom's back. Play resumed with less than a minute on the clock. Ava gained possession, passing to a teammate who scored the winning goal. After the match, Ava hugged nearly every member of the losing team, showing impressive sportsmanship, which made Ethan beam with pride. Nina's mom hugged Ethan tightly. Nina knew she could count on you. Her grades have improved, and she's going to college next year to become a teacher. You put her on the right path. Why was Tom Alexerson here? Asked a Ridge Runner father. Lily's his niece, his wife answered. She scored the winning goal. She must be embarrassed. The championship game was scheduled for the next morning. The Ridge Runners cruised through their games, dominating their opponents to reach the finals. Stone Ridge fans packed the stands, cheering as the girls excelled on the field. With just 3 minutes left in the game, Ava deflected a pass and scored, tying the game. The crowd roared as the teams reset for play. Despite their best efforts, the Ridge Runners lost by 1 goal in the final seconds. But Emily couldn't have been prouder of her team as they hugged each other and congratulated the winning team. The fans and parents were equally supportive, expressing their pride in the girls' effort. During the awards ceremony, the Ridge Runners received loud applause as Emily accepted the second-place trophy. The MVP award went to the top player on the winning team, but Ava proudly displayed the sportsmanship trophy to her team and the crowd. After the ceremony, Ava asked Ethan if she could ride home with some friends. After ensuring they had enough room and responsible drivers, Ethan agreed. As the van pulled away, Emily stood next to him. She reached out, taking his hand gently. She's a wonderful girl, Ethan. You're doing an amazing job with her, Emily said. Despite the past, she believed it was important to maintain polite conversations with him. I have no idea how to raise a daughter. Women are a complete mystery to me, Ethan admitted with a soft chuckle. You've proven that, Emily teased, masking her hurt. Ethan, I was wrong. I have no excuse. You were right to leave me. Can we talk, without the insults or anger? You're right, Ethan agreed. There's no point dwelling on the past. You've done a great job with Ava. She thinks very highly of you, and I appreciate how fair you've been to her. I was never vindictive, Ethan. I like Ava, and I'd love to stay friends with her after the season, if you don't mind. I'd like that, Ethan replied. She needs positive role models, and you're good for her. You've done well with her, Emily said quietly. Everything I hear about you now is positive. Since coming back to Stone Ridge, maybe, Ethan said, smiling faintly. Before that, not so much. I've learned a lot from my mistakes. Emily noticed her parents watching from a distance, clearly upset. They blame you because I never told them why you left, Emily admitted. They're good parents, but I don't think it would have helped for them to know. Ethan nodded. Thanks for talking to me. You're a good person, Emily. Later that evening, Emily headed home with her parents. What did you and Ethan talk about? Helen asked, her voice tense. Family, Emily answered simply. I told him he's doing great with Ava. He said you and Dad are great parents. Did he say that before or after seeing us shooting daggers at him? Margaret asked dryly. After, Emily said with a small smile. He understands why you dislike him. I don't see how he can be so reasonable, except about his marriage, her father grumbled. 3 days later, at dinner, Chloe noticed Emily was unusually quiet. What's wrong, sis? She asked. Lily Alexerson told me that her Uncle Tom reported Ethan for lying on the adoption paperwork, claiming he was still married to me. There's going to be an investigation. Ethan could lose Ava. She cried when she found out. Ethan won't give up on her. He'd leave the country before he'd let that happen, her father commented. Ethan runs when he's faced with problems, he added. Emily, you're still married to him, Chloe pointed out. He thinks you divorced him, and you think he divorced you. But you're as married as you were the day you walked out of the church. What difference does it make? Helen scoffed. He's living like a single man with an adopted daughter. Emily, call Ethan, Chloe urged. He and Ava can move in with you and be the family he promised the court. I won't stand for it, Helen declared, her tone sharp. You don't know him anymore. He could be dangerous. Mom, Ethan isn't cruel. He'd never hurt me, Emily insisted. I'm going to him now. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, Ava sobbing in his lap while his mother looked on helplessly. The doorbell rang, and Margaret answered it. "Ethan, can I talk to you and Ava?" Emily asked from the doorway. "Now isn't a good time," Ethan said impatiently. "We're going on a trip." "You don't need to pack for a long trip," Emily said softly, stepping inside. "Please, don't do this." "This doesn't concern you, Emily," Ethan said, frustration creeping into his voice. "Ethan, she's my daughter too," Emily said softly. Ava stopped sobbing and looked up at Emily. Margaret gasped in surprise. "If you're trying to take Ava from me, you're in for one hell of a fight," Ethan growled. "You have no right to call her your daughter." "Ethan, I'm still your wife," Emily said, steadying her voice. "The adoption papers list me as her mother, and I probably signed them. I want you and Ava to move in with me. If you're under investigation, we can show we're a family, solving this together. Ava can stay in her school, and you can still help Alex with the business." Ethan frowned. "And what happens when you decide you've had enough of us? You could kick us out anytime. I can't risk Ava getting hurt." "Ethan, you know I wouldn't do that. I screwed up once, but that doesn't define me now. I'll even put your name on the house, or let you pay the mortgage if that makes you feel better. I love Ava like my own, and I'd be honored to be her mother. Can we try, Dad?" Ava pleaded. "Coach is nice. She won't hurt us." "What are your options, Ethan? Run off to a country with no extradition? This isn't a movie. You have a chance to give Ava a stable home and a good school. Do what's best for her," Emily insisted. Ethan fell silent, thinking. Finally, he sighed. "Okay." The three women squealed with delight. Ava rushed to hug Emily, who kissed her forehead as tears welled in her eyes. "I hate to interrupt, but we should move quickly," Ethan warned. "We don't know when the officials might show up. Let's see your house and plan." "Of course, follow me," Emily agreed. "Can I go with Mom?" Ava asked. "Mom," Ethan repeated, shaking his head. "Sure. Why do I feel like I've lost control?" As they arrived at Emily's house, Ethan looked around. "You only have 2 bedrooms. How's this going to work?" "Simple math," Ava said with a grin. 2 share a room, 1 gets their own." "I'm not sharing a room with you," Ethan declared. "Of course not," Ava replied with a smirk. "I'm a teenage girl. I need my own room. You and Emily are married, so you should share a room." "We're pretending to be a normal family," Ethan responded. "Sharing a bed goes beyond that." "Is it that hard?" Emily interrupted. "Ava should have her own room. You and I can share mine. It has a double bed, and I'll give you space in my closet." By 11 p.m., Ethan and Ava had moved in. Emily was moved to tears when Ava asked, "Can I call you Mom? If it becomes a habit, it'll seem natural if someone checks on us." "Honey, nothing would make me happier," Emily whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "What about school? What do I call you there?" Ava asked. "I'm going to be your mom anyway, so it's fine," Emily replied. "I don't think that's a good idea," Ethan interjected. "We need to act like we've been a family for a long time. If Ava called you coach last week, she should keep doing that. I'll be the only one going home with my mom after practice, helping her with dinner and cleaning the house," Ava teased. "I can't wait to be part of a real family." Ethan was about to say something when Emily caught his eye and shook her head, stopping him. Later, as Ethan climbed into bed, he glanced at Emily. "You sleep in pajamas now? You used to sleep undressed." "I've been trying to be a proper lady since Ava moved in," Ethan explained. "I won't call the police if you accidentally touch me in your sleep," Emily joked. "If you forget and act like we're still married, I won't mind." Ethan smiled slightly. "Thanks, Emily. It's not going to be a problem." He turned onto his back and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, he woke up at 5 and noted with satisfaction that he was still on his side of the bed. The following evening, after soccer practice, Emily and Ava stopped by Helen's house. Ava stood in front of her grandmother. "Your daughter is my mom now. Can I call you Grandma?" Helen's stern expression softened instantly. "Of course you can," she exclaimed, hugging Ava. "Would you like some milk and cookies?" "Mom's heart has already melted," Chloe joked, hugging Ava. "I'm Aunt Chloe, and you're my favorite niece. We're going to have so much fun together." Ava grinned. "I'm getting a new grandma and aunt. I hope we spend a lot of time together. Dad knows Grandma doesn't like him, So we'll meet when he's working. Chloe laughed. I really like your dad. He's a handsome man. How are he and my sister getting along? Okay, I guess, Ava replied. They spent half an hour working out their rules for sharing the bedroom. I don't have a normal family yet. Do you think there's a chance they'll get back together? Chloe asked. Ava smiled. Dad's a catch, and Mom looks amazing. I think there's a chance. You're not thinking of going back to Ethan, are you? Helen demanded. That's not the point, Mom. I came for your recipes, not to discuss my marriage, Emily replied, blushing. I don't know how things will turn out, but Ethan doesn't like me much right now, so you can relax. Back at Emily's house, Ethan arrived just as Emily and Ava were starting dinner. He took a quick look around the house, then went outside with a measuring tape and notebook. After dinner, Ethan shared his thoughts. Emily, I want to add an extension to the house, he said. 26 feet by 14. It would give you a bigger bedroom, a large bathroom, a walk-in closet, and a half bath for guests. Can I show you the plans? That sounds great, but I can't afford it, Emily said, frowning. I've already struggled with my mortgage, Emily replied. I can't afford a home addition. I'll pay for it, Ethan said firmly. You're making a huge sacrifice for Ava and me. It'll increase the property value and give us the space we need. Is sleeping with me really that bad? Do I make you sick? Emily asked, trying to keep her composure. No, it's not like that, Ethan reassured her. We just need more space. We'll still share the master bedroom, but it'll be more comfortable with the extra room. I'll agree if you promise to sleep with me the whole time we live together. Agree or leave, Emily demanded, her tone serious. Ethan saw she wasn't joking and glanced at Ava, who smirked from the doorway. Deal, he said. The soccer season ended with the team undefeated, and Ethan overheard Emily encouraging Ava to try volleyball next. He noticed how close they had become, joking, shopping, cooking, and playing sports together. Ava was happier than ever. Meanwhile, Ethan and Emily's relationship remained complicated. Emily respected Ethan's boundaries, never complained about the house renovations, and remained friendly. Ethan brought in a backhoe and worked through the mild fall, determined to finish the extension by Christmas. Ava was excited about moving into Emily's old room, with her own bathroom and closet. Ethan and Emily discussed how to handle any potential investigations regarding Ava's adoption, crafting a solid plan. But they began to wonder if anyone would even check. One night, as they lay in bed, Emily tensed and placed her hand on Ethan's chest, then drifted into a deep sleep. Ethan lay still, staring at the ceiling. 2 days before Thanksgiving, Emily and Ava came home to find Ethan talking to a blonde woman in the driveway. Later, Ethan explained that it was Rachel Collins. What did she want? Emily asked, tensing. Was she angry? Her husband Mark has a brain tumor. He's dying, Ethan said quietly. She asked if I would visit him. Don't do it, Emily begged. He wants to hurt you. Please, don't let him. I told her I would. I want to hear what he has to say, Ethan replied. He'll call me a strumpet and try to humiliate you, Emily warned. It's my fault, but if he were a real man, he wouldn't go after a married woman. Why did you sleep with him then? Ethan asked, his voice cutting. That night, you didn't seem to be in pain. You kept saying his name, telling him how good he was. I thought about ending you both, but I decided to leave instead. Emily sobbed. I don't know why I did it. He was the big man on campus, a soccer star. I was young and stupid, thinking I could get away with it. It was my only affair, and it ruined everything. When I found your ring on the kitchen table, I knew it was over. I live with that guilt every single day. I love Ava, but we're not really a family. I can't make it up to you. We'll never have the love that binds a real family together, Emily continued. It's all my fault, and I live with that every day. Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy, or that you wanted to see other men? Ethan asked quietly. I didn't want other men. I just wanted to feel special for one night, Emily admitted. The high school stud wanted me, and I let it go to my head. Ironically, I got smarter after you left. You became kinder, more devoted. Believe it or not, that was the last time I was with anyone physically. You're the only man who ever made love to me. I know the difference now. Ethan's face tightened with pain. I'll never forget coming home early from that seminar, only to find someone else had taken my place. You almost destroyed me, Emily. Just because you're sorry doesn't take away the pain I've felt for 6 years. I know, Ethan. I don't deserve forgiveness. I've suffered too. I'm living in a sham marriage with a wonderful man and a beautiful daughter. Every time I look at you or Ava, I'm reminded of my stupidity. The pain grows worse as my love for both of you grows stronger. I know you can never love me again, and I can't be Ava's real mother if you don't. Emily wiped away tears. I'm just trying to enjoy the time we have together, knowing it will end soon. Every night, I hope you'll touch me, kiss me, make love to me, but it never happens. You just tolerate me. It's all my fault. Karma's a cow. In early December, Ethan visited Mark Collins in the hospital. Mark looked frail and gaunt, a shadow of his former self. Ethan, thanks for coming. If you want to slap me or strangle me, go ahead. I deserve it, Mark said weakly. I just came to see how happy I am that you're dying, Ethan said coldly. If you look closely, you'll see me smiling. I thought my suffering would make you feel better, Mark admitted. I'm trying to make amends, even if I have to die to do it. That's nonsense, Ethan replied sharply. What do you really want? I did you wrong, Ethan, Mark confessed. You caught me in bed with your wife, but you didn't kill me. I saw that shotgun leaning against the wall when I came downstairs. Emily only saw your ring on the table. To this day, I've never seen a man in as much pain as you were, Mark said weakly. I owe you, Ethan, but there's no way to repay you. My life's worth nothing now. The best I can offer is the chance to watch me die. Maybe it'll give you some comfort. How does your wife feel about that? Ethan asked coldly. I told her everything. She knows I want to ease my conscience. Dying won't bring me forgiveness, but it might give you some satisfaction. Just don't applaud when the Grim Reaper comes for me. That would hurt Rachel, and she doesn't deserve that. Why did you do it, Mark? Emily was everything to me, and you ruined it, Ethan growled. Because I was a fool, and because I could, Mark admitted. I didn't care about your marriage. Emily meant nothing to me. I'm ashamed to admit that. So it wasn't personal? You weren't out to destroy my life? Ethan asked. No, Ethan. I hardly knew who you were. To me, Emily was just a beautiful woman, a little married side fling. If you weren't so sick, I'd kick your back right now, Ethan threatened. If I weren't so sick, I'd want you to, Mark replied, coughing. I've grown up, but too late. There's no excuse for what I did. Ethan's eyes blazed with anger. You miserable fool. I'd be doing the world a favor if I just held this pillow over your face. True, but you'd get in a lot of trouble, Mark muttered. Killing a dying man is still a crime. Why don't you just visit when you can? Maybe you'll see me go off on that happy hunt. Ethan had never felt angrier. Mark had destroyed his marriage simply because he wanted another man's wife. To Ethan, Emily had been the perfect wife, devoted and loving. Then Mark had come along and wrecked everything. I guess I'll take you up on your offer, fool, Ethan said coldly. In a few days, I'll be pissing on your grave. Ethan kept his word, visiting Mark several times a week without telling Emily or Ava. He knew his intentions weren't healthy, but he couldn't stop himself. On his third visit, Mark's wife, Rachel, and their young son were there. Ethan nodded to her, but quickly left the room. He couldn't take any satisfaction in watching even a vile man die while his innocent family suffered. During another visit, Mark was more reflective. You left because my wife and son were here, didn't you? It's hard to enjoy watching me die when you see them suffering, Mark remarked. I'm here to see you die. I have no issue with your family, Ethan replied, though he felt hollow, knowing how pathetic it sounded. Mark continued to talk about his family, but Ethan wasn't moved. On Christmas Eve, Ethan visited again. Mark was frail, barely able to speak. Mark, I hate what you did to me, but I can't keep hating you. The best revenge is to live well, Ethan said. I'll make sure your wife and son are taken care of. You'll die knowing that the man whose life you ruined is the one taking care of your family. Mark gave a weak smile. I see what you're doing. You think that's revenge. But my despicable act somehow secured my family's future. I guess you're not as good at revenge as you thought. It's the best I could come up with, Ethan replied, shaking his head. I won't be coming back. Watching you suffer doesn't give me pleasure. You realize you're practically forgiving me, Mark whispered. You endured what I did, something no man should forgive. I didn't say that, Ethan shot back. Think what you want. Mark leaned closer. Why can you forgive me but not Emily? Imagine how good it would feel to forgive her, to have her in your arms again, to have children with her. Wouldn't that be better than punishing her? Screw you, Collins, Ethan snarled. You're the one who said I forgave you. Mark sighed. Not in so many words, but you did. Please, give Emily my apologies. Ethan stormed out of the hospital, angrier than ever. Mark thought he'd been forgiven, and even had the audacity to suggest Ethan forgive Emily. Furious, Ethan regretted every visit. When Ethan got home, his driveway was full of cars. He'd forgotten about the Christmas party Emily and Ava had planned. As he entered, the room fell silent. Emily and Ava were serving drinks when they saw him, visibly upset. What's wrong, Ethan? Emily asked, concerned. Do you really want to be my wife? Ethan demanded, his voice sharp. Yes, Emily replied quietly. I do. A wife gives her husband all her love. She belongs to him, only to him, Ethan continued, his eyes locked on hers. I agree, Emily said, tears welling up. A husband takes care of his family. He deserves respect, Ethan added. Emily nodded, oblivious to the guests watching them. A good wife doesn't complain if her husband takes her whenever he needs her. Including right now, on that damn big bed, Ethan said firmly. Not if he loves her and she loves him, Emily agreed, her voice barely a whisper. Without another word, Ethan scooped Emily into his arms. Ava, close the door behind us, he ordered. Okay, Daddy, Ava said, smiling as she closed the bedroom door behind them. I'll entertain the guests. What just happened? Emily's mother asked, confused. Is she going to be okay? Oh, yes, Chloe said with a laugh. Sis will be just fine. Half an hour later, Ethan and Emily emerged from the bedroom, freshly showered and in new clothes. Emily snuggled up to Ethan, while the guests began to banter again. That didn't take long, one of Ethan's workers joked. Hope the boss finished the job. He did very well, thanks for asking, Emily cooed, kissing Ethan on the cheek. Ethan, I don't know what happened between you and my daughter, but her mother and I are glad things are better now, Emily's father said, shaking Ethan's hand. Just don't do it again. It won't happen again, Ethan assured him. Emily and I will be together from now on. Funny how nothing came of that threat, Chloe remarked. I was interviewed at school, Ava admitted. I told them we have a great family, that Mom and Dad love me and each other. I wanted us to stay together. Why were you so emotional when you got home? Ethan's mom asked. I was figuring out who I was hurting and why. Revenge hurts the one seeking it most, Ethan said thoughtfully. I needed to treat myself better. Emily will just have to suffer with me for the rest of our lives.